Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Luis Ortiz has been dumped from the WBO rankings, but not only that, the WBO itself has gone back and edited out Ortiz from its April rankings like he was never there and replaced him with Andy Ruiz Jr., who will be facing Anthony Joshua on June 1st in New York. And why would they do that? Well, presumably because Ruiz wasn't ranked. And there's a few things I'll get to in this video around these circumstances and my views on it, but also to the rankings update for May. So buckle in. Let's go. So we'll start with this very murky situation of Luis Ortiz. So the WBO, it updates its rankings about the 22nd or 23rd of each month. The new listing goes onto its website with the top 15. So what I do every month is I take a screenshot and then I will do a month-on-month comparison. And if you follow my Twitter, you would have seen, even when I don't do videos for the channel because the updates might be so minor, I will still generally put up a, this is the top 15 this month, yada yada yada, all that sort of stuff. One of the notable inclusions last month was Luis Ortiz included at number 8. And at that point, he was the hot favourite to replace Jarrell Big Pharmacy Miller to fight Joshua on June 1st in New York. So bear in mind the timeline here. The first failed test, it came out on the 16th of April. And immediately after that, Anthony Joshua stated to Eddie Hearn, who told it to all of the world, that Luis Ortiz was the guy that they were targeting. But in the subsequent 10 days or so, things moved on. There was the whole back and forth with Luis Ortiz's camp, who came out publicly saying, we're not going to take the fight, but then recanted saying, actually, we do want the fight. But ultimately, they went with Ruiz Jr. But you can clearly see here that Luis Ortiz is at number 8. And I did a video on the rankings, and specifically because Jarrell Miller was dumped from the rankings in the latest update, and that was the 26th of April, so 26th of April my time, so it would have been April 25th in the Northern Hemisphere, and that went up, and Jarrell Miller obviously was the big story, dumped from the rankings. But here's a screenshot from the video itself. So Luis Ortiz, you can see here on screen, it's got the rankings at number 8. So when I went to do this month's check off there, because it's what, the 24th now, it's been up for a day or so, I had a quick glance last night, didn't think anything of it, but then I started to do the comparison today and I was like, hang on, Luis Ortiz was in at number 8, there or thereabouts last month. Where has he gone? And then I checked the WBO website, and lo and behold, he's not in the April rankings anymore. And I thought, no, that's not right, and that's why I double checked. So Andy Ruiz Jr., in this month's update, you can see here on screen, he is listed as number 11. So what the WBO did at some point after April the 25th last month, and presumably after Andy Ruiz Jr. was confirmed to face Anthony Joshua, was it updated its rankings. It took out Luis Ortiz, who it placed at 8th in the rankings, and put in Andy Ruiz Jr. into 11. So this is the amended list for April. So this was after the whole list was published, and then a number of days later, after Ruiz Jr. is confirmed, Ortiz dumped, and Andy Ruiz Jr. is updated to number 11 in the rankings. And the reason being most likely is that the WBO needs to have Andy Ruiz Jr. in its rankings to legitimize him facing Anthony Joshua for their belt on June the 1st. And it would have been the same for Luis Ortiz. They parachuted him at number 8. But they've carefully and quite slyly just dumped Ortiz out of the rankings altogether. He was at number 8, and now he's out of there altogether, replaced by Ruiz. The WBO doing it very slyly on its website, updating it, amending Ruiz at number 11, and Ruiz holds firm at number 11 this month. And I would note here, so Andy Ruiz Jr. is in the IBF rankings at number 15. And he was actually already at 15 a month ago as well. So there was no funny business there with the IBF. He was inside their top 15. And for the WBA, for its most recent update, it bumped up Ruiz from 11th to 5th place. So that was the 30th of April. I covered that in a video as well. So you can sort of see they're bumping him up the rankings in the WBA. And clearly the WBO won to make it legitimate. But for the WBA, it looks more impressive facing the 5th ranked contender as opposed to the 11th. So it's pretty deliberate what the WBO's done here, but also a bit sly, and Luis Ortiz is obviously the unwilling and unknowing victim in the circumstance. Officially, he was in there at number 8, then gone altogether, replaced by the contender that is facing Anthony Joshua. So a little bit of skullduggery going on here just to suit its own purposes and its own regulations for facing the champion. But yeah, if we get to the WBO top 15 in the rankings itself with the comings and goings, we've got Dillian White. He remains at number 1. He's been number 1 for quite some considerable time, but don't confuse that with the WBO mandatory challenger, because that hasn't been called yet. He's just the number 1 contender. Although with Alexander Usyk, who was due a mandatory shot through the WBO courtesy of his super champion status from cruiserweight, now that he's injured, tearing his right bicep and will be out for months, that probably increases Dillian White's chance of getting that WBO mandatory. But will White have to fight a final eliminator in the WBO to get that? There's a few questions that will have to be answered there, but Dillian White still at number 1. Number 2 remains Tom Schwartz. He is facing Tyson Fury on June 15. Fury is at number 3, so number 2 and number 3 are facing each other within a month. Oscar Rivas and Zhili Zhang, Tyrone Spong, Junior Fa, they are 4 through 7. They are all unchanged. Ajit Kabial 8th this month, 9 Kyoto Fujimoto. It would be good to see him in a competitive fight sometime soon. Some of these guys are literally just hanging around, not doing much. I mean, it was about this time last year where many of us were going, well, Fujimoto has just been hanging around these rankings for so long, just not doing anything. And it's sort of the status quo. He has the odd tick-over fight to maintain his minor title that he has, which keeps him in the rankings. That's the Asia Pacific belts. Number 10, Yevgeny Romanov, and number 11, Andy Ruiz Jr. So he maintains at 11 after having been edited into 11th spot, courtesy of dropping Luis Ortiz from the April rankings after they'd already first been published. It's a bit dodgy. Daniel Dubois, he is at number 12, Ali Erin Demirishin, 13, Carlos Takam at 14, and at number 15 we have Adam Kovnatski entering the rankings. So Kovnatski is ranked across a number of sanctioning bodies now, due to be back out in August. It's penciled in as Chris Arreola. It'll be interesting to see where they can sort of build him up through different sanctioning bodies. Obviously very high in the WBC at the moment, but he has other rankings as well, including this one now. But that whole situation with Ortiz and Ruiz, it's a little bit dodgy to say the least, but it shows you what the sanctioning bodies do. When Ortiz looked like he was odds on to be the next guy for Anthony Joshua, parachuted in, but as soon as he's not, dumped, replaced with the guy that is, they parachute Andy Ruiz into a slightly lower ranking, but in the rankings all the same. Satisfies their processes, but yeah, it just sort of exposed the whole system as being a little bit wafer thin in terms of credibility, and just, can be gamed by the sanctioning body itself, which is, not really ideal, is it? But I guess, we've come to expect this sort of stuff from the sanctioning bodies over the years, and just another example of it here. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.